You are listening to the Special Needs Children podcast with Chitra Iyer. Chitra Iyer is a parent of 24-year-old Shravan Iyer, who has epilepsy, cerebral palsy and autism. She is the CEO of MFA and has been helping families with life-centered planning to reach their personal financial goals. She is also a trustee of a parent support group, the Forum for Autism, which was set up almost 2 decades ago. MFA is a 17-year-old organization working in the personal finance space. They have set up a dedicated practice to help families with special needs children to plan their financial goals and invest for them. The thoughts shared here are as a result of the discussion with parents, caregivers, siblings and professionals regarding the planning of a person with special needs. In this expert series podcast, Chitra Iyer is talking to Ms. Rakshita Shekhar, the first openly autistic person in South Asia, who is also a fantastic autism advocate. Rakshita is an educator and consultant for disability rights organizations and schools. She has a master's in intellectual and developmental disabilities from the University of Kent, UK. She has extensive experience as a teacher in both general education and special education. In this interview, she will be sharing about her journey so far and her passion for pedagogy for autism. She will be sharing her thoughts about teaching society that they can and must rely on disabled people to solve the world's biggest problems.
Hi everyone. A big warm welcome to all of you on this expert series of my podcast for special needs children. Thank you, dear Rakshita, for agreeing to do this interview with me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm honored that you invited me here.
I am so looking forward to this one because since the time I attended your entire, training on autism, I've always been in awe of you and been waiting to get you onto my podcast and to listen to you. So everyone, I'd love to introduce you to Rakshita. She's the first openly autistic person in South Asia. She also sits on the board of an autism charity, which all of us know, Action for Autism in India. Rakshita is an educator and consultant for disability rights organizations and schools. She has a master's in intellectual and developmental disabilities from the University of Kent, UK. She has extensive experience as a teacher in both general education and special education. She has been voicing her opinions across over the years, and it's a pleasure just listening to her, and I'm just waiting for all of you to also listen to her. She ardently advocates for autistic children and adults through her poetry, essays, talks, and training programs. Welcome again, Rakshita.
Thank you so much, Chitra. Thank you so much.
So, Rakshita, to begin with, my question to you is, can you please share your story with our listeners? How were your years growing up?
I'm 35 now. When I was born, I was a very sickly child. I was premature. I had heart palpitations. And because I was connected to a lot of machines, the doctors and my mother were able to notice that I would react very differently to sensory input. So, say sudden change in the light. So, for example, if the light is on and you switch off the light, or you switch on the light, or you water droplet falls on me, things like this would startle me. It would stop my heartbeat. I was mostly crying even after I grew out of infancy. Picky eater, my mother says. We used to very regularly go to the doctor because she was very concerned why I'm always crying, why I'm always sick. But nobody knew why. She's young, she'll grow out of it, that sort of a thing. When I was in my primary school, we moved to another city, which was very quiet, and I had suddenly stopped crying. And now when I look back, I know for sure I stopped crying because it was a quiet city, but also because my mother was more relaxed in that city, I guess. I'm sure because also I grew up, but that had little to do with it. More to do with the fact that my sensory environment was more in control in this place. So I was quieter. My mother was happier, quieter. Things were more manageable around us. But then in teenage again, uh, ninth, 10th, 11th, I consider the worst phases of my life. Uh, I was extremely aggressive, violent. Um, at school, I was still a very silent child. So, you know how teachers like silent children. They don't have complaints if the child is silent. Uh, doesn't matter if you're studying, not studying, doesn't matter if you're understanding things around you, as long as you're silent. Now at 35, no, actually, I realized it a few years back. I realized that at school I was like that. But when I came home, the moment my mother would say, okay, put your bag there, wash your hands, let's eat, I would go into a fit of violence because I was too tired just adjusting to an environment that I did not understand, that did not understand me. Um, I was quite suicidal at that point. We went to many psychiatrists. Uh, the first psychiatrist asked me, so, what is your problem, Ma? And then I just shut my mouth, didn't say anything, came back and fought again with my mother. The second one just decided that uh, I'm a badly behaved child because I'm too privileged and my parents should beat me up more uh, so that I get disciplined. Of course, that didn't go down well with me. We never went back to a psychiatrist. We did not go back to a psychiatrist for a few years after that. Until I think 2013, 2011, 2013, somewhere around that time is when I went back to a psychiatrist. Um, Interestingly, we went to all these doctors and psychiatrists because I was like, my mother could see, my mother used to write very detailed notes. Now, when I look back, look into those notes, sometimes I feel like, oh my God, this woman was describing all the features of autism. And only if somebody knew that these are the features of autism, they would have, you know, given a diagnosis. They would have, I mean, what would have happened after the diagnosis, I have no clue. But I mean, because we still don't have a lot of information on how good support looks like, or not information, awareness on how good support looks like. So I don't know what would have happened so many years back, but I am sure my mother would have found ways somehow. Like she would have like made it her life project to find solutions. My college was more, I think, easier. Number one, because my mother used to work there as an admin in the admin department. Uh, so she was able to tell me what to do, what not to do, how things work, how I should navigate. So I had help in navigating situations. But also number two, I studied mechanical engineering. So I was in a class full of boys, and it was much easier for me to socialize with boys because they talk facts, information. They don't worry about clothes as much. They accepted me more easily. I know that a lot of autistic adults say this, and I know a lot of autistic children also experience this. They um, tend to mingle much better with populations that are other than their assigned gender. So in a way, that is where I started like finding comfort zones, finding friends, people who really genuinely liked me. the fun things that people do, like the girls do very different fun things than boys. So that way, a little social life actually.
So moving on, you know, today you are a very vocal, and your opinions really matter in, at least amongst wherever you're speaking. You have
बहुत चढ़ा दिया मुझे.
सच में कहाँ पर मिलते हैं लोग बात करने वाले. So you are a fantastic autism advocate, and your advocacy is really lovely for anybody who is trying to listen and understand where you're coming from. When did this you emerge? Are you a new you?
I am definitely a new me, in the sense that I understand myself. And this has happened only after my autism diagnosis. I got it in 2020. I self-diagnosed myself. I self-diagnosed me in 2018. And it took me 2 more years to get a formal diagnosis. But since the time that I diagnosed myself, I started reaching out to other autistic people around the world. The autism advocacy really uh, uh, is alive on the internet more than in the physical space, I think. So it was much easier for me to reach out to them, find validation. Like some people would, if some person said, "Oh, I feel like this," and I was like, "What? Really? I've always felt like this. Really? There's somebody else on this planet who feels like this."
Right.
Because all my life, it's like when I say noise, and everybody says, "What noise? There's no noise. Shut up." Isn't everybody adapting, adjusting? Rani mat bano yahan pe baith ke. Adjust karo. Noise. But there is like a group of people who is saying, "Oh my God, I can't take the noise anymore." And I'm like, yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. And I started getting words to express what I'm feeling instead of just shouting noise. I'm now able to say, I was then able to say, I am sensitive to sound. I specifically searched for a neurodiversity affirming therapist, found one who taught me to communicate then, saying, I get, if the person is somebody who I really like and who likes me back, then say the complete truth, which is I get very hassled when there are two more sounds. Can one person talk at a time, please? Or can we switch off all the other sources of sounds like TV, fan, everything else? If it is somebody new, then I just say, I'm not able to understand you. Can we go to a quieter place to talk? These kind of things nobody had taught me before. So when I started understanding myself, I started having language to express my needs. I started thinking about, okay, why is it happening like this? Why am I the way I am? And you know how the autistic brain is. Once we pick up a topic, we're like fully into it until I don't know if when the
Juiced out.
Yeah. Yeah, until we squeeze every bit of that juice out of it. So that's how it was for me with autism. The more I read about autism from people who were not autistic, the more I felt like how I used to feel when I was a child. And the more I read about autism from people who are autistic, I started feeling like my teenage self, that there's nothing wrong with me. Why are you making my life hell? That sort of a thing. And but now instead of that anger and aggression and that violence controlling me, I had somebody supporting me to, navigate my emotions, teach me how to manage my emotions, teach me how to express my needs. ask for support. And it's not like I can ask for support and the other person will just automatically understand, right? What I really need.
Right. Absolutely.
So also teach them what I need, teach them how to support me. So that I think changed me. That kind of information, knowledge changed me. So I met Mary in 2020, beginning of 2020, January, February types. I think January. And I really liked what she was doing. I was already a teacher by then. I knew I was very good at teaching, explaining complex ideas to people. So I told her, I figured out, because of course, my special interest now is this topic, autism. I figured out a lot of stuff about this that I want to teach people, educate people about. How do I do it? And she really, really gave me a platform, connected me to different people. So I started getting more opportunities. People started inviting me to talks, invited me to write, which empowered me more and more, right? Like, okay, this is possible. I can really do this. And I'm getting good response from this. So let me think about more ways to do it. And at the same time, I remember reading on the internet, somebody had written, an Indian autistic self-advocate. I mean, they figured out their autism much later, but before they realized they were autistic, they had written this thing where they said, if you have the mic, then your job is to pass on the mic. And that has really stuck with me, that if I have the privilege of teaching, explaining to people, I should provide that opportunity to others. So
Absolutely lovely. Yeah. Rakshita, I'm just deviating a bit here. Um, what, therefore, would you tell parents who are listening? What would be your guidance to them?
I'm a mother. I have an autistic son who is 4 years old. I understand that the most important thing really is the voice of the other people that needs to be shut in our heads. Our own mothers, our neighbors, the school teachers, our other extended family relatives. That keeps playing on in our head, right? Because as a culture around the world, actually, not just in India, but around the world, we live in this culture where first thing we do is blame the parents, and specifically the mother. Because hello, what is she there for? If not raise a beautiful kid, good looking, well behaved, Adarsh Balak or Balika. And if that Adarsh, definition of Adarsh is also decided by them only. I think because I'm in therapy, because I have somebody to cry to and process how much our ideas of parenting actually come from like a guilt feeling, fear of what other people will do to us as parents, how they will exclude us, how they will judge us as parents. Parents shouldn't have to go through that. And we should go to counseling and have therapy so that we can process our own feelings. Yes, there's going to yes, there's going to be grief. Yes, there's going to be a lot of anger at your child. Like, just if this child was different, I would have had a happier life. But you know what? It's because I don't know how to deal with this child that I'm feeling this anger and helplessness. It's because I don't know how to deal with this situation where everybody else is, pressurizing me to be some superhuman, that I'm feeling this anger and helplessness. It's not the child. I've had to learn this through therapy. And I think every parent needs to go through their own journey of resolving their grief, resolving their own childhood trauma, resolving their own, breaking out of their own conditioning of what a good parent is, what a good child is, what a good society is. I think we as parents deserve that kind of support. We don't have it. And we have to go to therapy to get it. Like we are told therapy for our child. Nobody tells us we need therapy.
Self therapy nahi aata. Yeah. Got exactly what you were saying. Yeah. Thank you. That was intense but very nice, really.
I want to add to this,
Sure.
recently at the forum, um, there was this whole talk about on the autism during the autism awareness month. There was this whole talk about how parents should, you know, plan a second. They should not have a second child if they already have a child with autism. One of them should stop working. Only then they can raise a child with autism. How autism is caused because of parental neglect. Number one, and these were doctors talking about this. Number one, these are 19th century, 20th century ideas. But number two, okay, not 19th century, 20th century idea. But number two, it feeds into that whole thing about, oh my God, what caused my child's autism? What caused my child? Was it because I worked the first 1 year? No, I worked. That's why. Because I didn't eat properly during my pregnancy. Because I didn't do this, I didn't do that. I was too stressed because of my mother in law. And my question was, why do you care if what caused autism? Is it because you are going to finally know that it was not you as as a parent that caused the autism? Then I am telling you today, write it on your wall if you want. You did not cause your child's autism. Nothing you could ever do can cause your child's autism. So instead of waiting for that validation from outside, accept it now. You did not cause the autism. So now let's start working with your child has autism. How can you make that child live a meaningful life? Yeah, that's all.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Rakshita, can you share your motherhood story? You know, it's a huge thing for parents who are listening in. And can you share how's it been? You're a young mother. How are you handling it? How rosy is it? How challenging is it for you? Who do you lean on? How does the help come in?
First, before I answer this question, I want to tell you that I want to be very mindful of the fact that my son will grow up and listen to this podcast someday without me knowing it. And I don't want him to hear things like he's a burden or that I was very unhappy because of him. I don't want him to ever make that assumption. So I want to, first of all, put it out there that this has nothing to do with my son, really. He is who he is. And the challenge is that I don't have the skills sometimes. The challenge is that I am too tired sometimes, that I am too overwhelmed. He needs my attention, somebody else needs my attention, my body needs attention, and the TV is running, and I'm going down a spiral on those days. And I have learned to, at that point, and I had to learn this through therapy, to during those times stop, step back, give up demands, give up expectations. Not like I've mastered that skill. Like recently, there was an episode where he was very distressed, and I had to stop further harm to other people, to property that was happening. I was super duper busy with work, and I had to first calm down myself. But my first emotion was, why the hell do I have to go through this? Why does it always have to be me who has to come in? Why can't other people also learn? And I took about 5 minutes before I intervened to just rock on my own chair, because I've learned that helps me immensely. The deep pressure to my chest area helps me immensely. So I lied down, put a few pillows and lied down on top of that. And then I went in and I said, come, let's go. I know it's very, very difficult what you're feeling. I know something really bad happened. Other people tried complaining to me, he did this, he did this, he did this. And I said, wait, I'll listen to all of you later. I'll come back, I promise. And I took my son into another room. And all this while, I had to keep continuously calming myself down, because it's not like he's coming with me so easily. I took a sheet of paper, I took some crayons, and very hard, I scribbled on it. And I said, this is how I'm feeling right now. And I put a paper in front of him. And he also scribbled on it. And he said, this is how I am feeling right now. I said, I feel like cutting up this. And I cut my paper with the scissors. Then he also cut his paper with the scissors. Then I drew me, and I drew a little, stick figure me. And I drew a little group of stick figures. And I said, I feel very lonely right now. He drew one triangle. I have no clue what that meant. He said, I feel like everybody's cutting up my life right now. And my first reaction was, you're 5. Stop talking like that. But I did not say it. In my head, I said it. And these are skills that we have to learn, right? Continuously. I did not come to this place automatically. Because I have a therapist of my own who is neurodiversity affirming, who can guide me on how to raise my child in a way that he feels validated. That's why I'm able to do all this, right? And then I started then drawing something else. So I made like 4 or 5 pictures on different pages. He made 4 or 5 pictures on different pages, and then some of those pages, then we lined them up in a sequence. Like, okay, this is what happened first. Then I felt like this. Then this happened. Then this happened. And then he said, because I feel like everybody's cutting my life, I want to cut. I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And I gave him a few papers to cut. And he kept cutting, like for 2 hours, calmly, silently. He was sitting and cutting papers, making very tiny squares and lining up those tiny squares, like 200 squares or something we had at the end of it. And while he calmed down, after he calmed down, I was feeling so overwhelmed by this whole effort. So I put on some music and lied down next to him. Should I call this challenging? I don't know. Should I call this a good thing? I don't know. Do I get overwhelmed? Yes, definitely. Is it difficult? At that moment, it is definitely difficult. But it's about me. It's not the child. It's me.
Yeah.
It's me who is angry. It's me who is overwhelmed. It's me who doesn't know the skills. It's me who doesn't know how to navigate this situation. And I need to learn those skills. It's me who doesn't understand how his body works fully yet. And he's developing. So his brain is developing, his nervous system is developing. It's new things on a monthly basis, or maybe 6 monthly basis. And I have to adapt to that. So I've learned a skill now, and it's probably not going to work 6 months later. But all of this is me, not my child. And that's what I want to tell the other parents, that it's us parents. We deserve to be supported through this. There should be a system to teach us these things. You know how when the child was born, our mothers taught us how to breastfeed, our mothers taught us how to carry the baby, how to change the baby.
Yeah.
There is a system around that. There is a culture around that. That is why we don't fail.
Correct.
In those areas, in those aspects. It's not the child. The child, those first 3, 4, 5 months are still very, 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 very difficult for any mother.
True.
But there's a system around it, and the whole society understands how to support that mother.
Correct.
That's exactly what's absent. And, you've been so brutally honest and stated exactly what you're going through. And it's this help that you said would go a real long way in terms of how parents can navigate and understand the child better. What you said is absolutely that. Is it challenging? Is it the way to be? Is it good or bad? Obviously, the child knows nothing. It's up to the parent to actually figure how to upskill themselves, how to train themselves so that they know what to do and how to be ready with what's coming. Yeah. Thank you for being so honest. Yeah.
Welcome.
I'm taking you on another trajectory that is something that you're extremely passionate about, and what you talk a lot about, and what you teach about. Your interest completely lies in the pedagogy for autism, specifically in children. So, can you please share your thoughts and facts about all of that you worked so hard on? You've done a lot of research also, right?
I mean, it's not academic research, it's that autistic research.
Mhm.
Every single minute of the day, think about it and read about it. And
Right. Experiencing it. Yeah.
so it's autistic research, not academic research.
Great. Yeah.
Like how a 5-year-old boy will, an autistic 5-year-old might learn about dinosaurs.
That is how eagerly and keenly you've been, tracking and learning and figuring all of it out for yourself. Yeah, so waiting to hear. Yes.
Yeah, so about this, I want to say 4 things, okay? 4 pedagogical, क्या बोलते हैं, ज्ञान, okay? First is that we need to use the strengths the autistic people have. And one of the biggest strengths is like what I said just now. If their attention is caught by one topic or one thing, they will go very, 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 very deep into it. They will learn, how the doctors and clinicians might pathologize it and call it obsession.
Right.
I see it as a learning style. That 5-year-old kid who is, quote, unquote, obsessed with dinosaurs is an expert at dinosaurs and knows more about dinosaurs than maybe a 15-year-old or a 20-year-old at just 5 years of age. That is a strength. Utilize that. So if the child is studying only about is interested only in dinosaurs, teach maths through dinosaurs, teach English through dinosaurs, because otherwise they're not even going to learn about maths and science. And that's the downside of our interest or attention style that doctors and clinicians are worried about, right? That we become so obsessed with it, we're not thinking about anything else, we're not ready to do anything else. So then use that. Did you know how many dinosaurs were there? There were 5 dinosaurs. And then a T-Rex came and ate 4 of them. So how many were left? You want to push it up to a 6th grade, 7th grade level, make it a percentage problem. You want to push it up to 10th grade level, make it a statistics problem. Plot a graph on how many dinosaurs, or plot a bar graph to show the different kinds of dinosaurs, or classify different kinds of dinosaurs by height. What was the average height of a group of dinosaurs? Make it up, but use their special interest. Second is presume competence. Actually, this should have been the first. Presume competence, presume competence, presume competence. Put it upon all your walls, everywhere, that if your child is taught in the right way, assessed in the right way, they can and they will show you that they're very competent. There's this whole thing, right? Like a lot of special schools do this. ये बच्चा इसको एकेडमिक्स नहीं भाता है, वोकेशनल में डालना चाहिए इसको. 5 साल से हम लोग ट्राई कर रहे हैं, इसको एकेडमिक्स इसके पल्ले नहीं पड़ा, ABCD नहीं सीखा 5 साल से. There my question is, first question, how do you know the child doesn't know ABCD? हमने ट्राई किया, पूछा, okay, तुमने पूछा, but have you considered that autism brings with it communication difficulties? So did you consider that factor when you were assessing? Because assessment is a communication. Agar communication difficulty hai, so the person is not going to be able to show you how competent they are. And then you are sitting here and assuming that they don't know, that they're not competent. So your assessment itself is invalid. Did you give AAC to that child to communicate their knowledge? Did you make the question accessible comprehension wise? Did you make sure, like if you are asking a question, prove that 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Okay, suppose you've asked this question. Have you understood they understand the word prove, or they know what exactly to do? So what should I do? Should I show you? Should I touch something? Should I count something? What is the exact action that I want to do, that you are expecting me to do? All this is communication. So if you're not giving them access to communication, your assessment is wrong, is invalid. Wrong name, invalid. Your assessment results should not be taken into consideration at all. Second, what were the ways that you taught the person? Did you use their strengths to teach them? If not, then how have you ensured that they learn? So पहले तुमने सिखाया नहीं है. Second, तुम उनको assess नहीं कर रहे हो. फिर on what basis are you saying कि ये competent नहीं है? ये लोग इनको academics नहीं पढ़ती है, इनको vocational में ही जाना है. I'm not against vocational. I'm against this idea that somebody cannot learn. Vocation के नाम पे हम लोग बर्तन धुलाते हैं, कपड़े फोल्ड कराते हैं, झाड़ू पोंछा सिखाते हैं, sorting सिखाते हैं, which, and for say teenagers, okay, 16, 17, 18, even 15 onwards. Which other 15-year-olds are doing all this? Do other 15-year-olds normally do this in the culture? Then no problem. If other 15-year-olds in your culture are not doing this, then why are you making these children do this? I'm not saying it's a lesser job. I'm saying you're making them do this on the assumption that they're not capable of learning. So your expectations are so low because you have not taught properly and you have not assessed properly, not because the child is capable or not. Fourth thing. First was use special interest. Second was presume competence. Third was how assessments should be reliable. Fourth is, for autism, one thing that when you're teaching autistic children, one thing you have to keep in mind is choice and autonomy. You have to provide choice. Have to. I mean, it's a good thing to provide choice to all children. Okay. So whether do you want to write in a notebook or whether you want to draw on a board, write in a paper or write on the board, whether you want to use regular pencil or color pencil, whether you want to, okay, these are the 5 items we need to do today. Which one do you want to do first, second, third, fourth, fifth? Choice, decision making. They are capable of decision making, but providing choices is very, 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 very important for autistic people. Like having choices is very, very, very important for autistic people. You can't give 10 choices at a time. Start with 3, maximum keep 4. If you have 10 choices to give, then keep 3, then give 3, again another 3, again another 3, like that. At a time, don't give 10 for most of them. Some people can manage 10. Depends. I can't manage 10. But providing that choice is very, 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 very important, because what it does is multiple things. One is, first, most important thing is that child knows their body much better than you as a parent or a therapist or a teacher do. They know their body much, 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 much better. Their body gives them signals that you can't feel. So maybe at that point, I'm saying, they're very low in energy, and that's why writing is becoming difficult. Just providing that option of colorful pencils will give them a little more energy. But you won't even know that they're feeling low on energy. But giving that option, they will choose depending on their body. This is just an example. Second, you're building deep trust. Instead of being authoritarian, you're being collaborative. Number 3, advantage of giving choice. um, like I said, it's not just that the child will benefit. You as a human being will undergo a huge shift inside yourself. Like how you will start respecting, how you will see that your respect towards them goes up. You will see that you are thinking from their perspective more. You are learning more about them. You will, you as a person are going to benefit so much from that. So these are the four things that I think are very, very important when working with autistic students. That's all.
Again, absolutely spot on and fantastic. Uh, Here again, I want to dig a little deeper, Rakshita. I've attended your course. Okay. Can you please throw a little light on that about what all you feel is extremely important and why people should, I mean, I feel that everyone should attend the course that you take on autism. Can you please briefly touch upon your thoughts there and why do you feel it's necessary that people need to know?
So this course is called Autism, a Starter's Guide for Allies. It's created to, I mean, the objectives of the course are to critically think, critically analyze about critically analyze the knowledge that we have about autism from Google, from our own experiences, from what we've seen on in movies or TV serials, and uh, how and what critic recognize the biases that we have within ourselves. But the unique point about this is that we look into what is autism and how to support autistic people completely from the autistic person's point of view. So we have, I am an autistic educator. I don't want to call myself a special educator. I am an autistic educator. We have one of our facilitators is an autistic OT. Another is an autistic speech language pathologist. Another is an autistic counselor. And we also have autistic adults share their experiences about. So one person we always try to keep a mix. So one non-speaking autistic person, one person who will be talking on the sexuality and gender perspective, another one who will be talking about neurology. And please do come and attend the course. I know I'm not doing a good job of selling my course.
No, you didn't.
I don't know how to talk about it.
I do the needful there that, yes, Rakshita's course is awesome. She talks about from where did autism, since the beginning, how did it get labeled? How did it get, what all happened? How is it viewed today? And, what as a parent or as a person with autism, what all do you need to know? Extreme, all the minutest of details are covered right from, her. You want to touch on this about is it hereditary or not?
Yeah, most times it's hereditary. More than 90% of the times it's hereditary. Only a very minority of cases, it's a completely new genetic mutation without any hereditary links, which means that autism is definitely genetic, which means that अगर आपका बच्चा ऑटिज्म है उसको है तो या तो आपको है या आपके पति को है या आपके घर में किसी को तो है. So it's not new. I have so many parents who come and say, पर ये गलत क्या कर रहा है? मैं भी तो ऐसे ही था जब मैं छोटा था. And in my head, and then they're describing all the things that they used to do in their childhood. And in my head, I'm going, yes, that's because you're also autistic. But never mind, none of this is wrong.
Totally. So, yeah, moving on from there, please, everyone, whoever's listening, you need to, we will inform Once you have the next batch, you need to let us know, right, Rakshita?
So I'm waiting for at least 25 people to join so that then I can start a batch.
Super. So, how does anybody reach out to you?
Email rshekhar02 at gmail.com. So rshekar02 at gmail.com. E for elephant, K for Kazakhstan,
Got it.
H for Hungary, A for Apple, R for Rakshita, 02 at gmail.com.
Correct. So, thanks for that. And I'm coming to my last question. So, Rakshita, what should therefore, we've heard you, talk about your whole life. You've shared beautifully about what all you've been through and what all you're dealing with now. What should be our approach to develop good mental health in disabled children?
First is that we need to be focused on building an identity. When everybody around you, imagine everybody around you said, galat hai, galat hai, galat hai, galat hai, galat hai. You stand up, it's the wrong time to stand up. You sit down, you're not sitting properly. You smile, it's not you're not smiling enough. You don't smile, it's rude. Like everything, you're trying and trying and trying, and everything you do, aise nahi karte, 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 and people are trying to correct you. And all around you, you can sense, even as a 3-year-old, you can sense that people are so worried about you. They don't, there's something wrong with you. Imagine what kind of a person you're going to grow up into. What is going to be your identity? Dhajjiyan ud jayengi tumhare identity. So the first thing we need to do is focus on building a positive self-identity. And it does not just happen by saying, you are a beautiful boy, you are such a pretty girl. Doesn't happen with that. It has to show in our actions. In the toughest of times, it has to show in our actions. For that, again, we need to learn how to do it. We need to learn how to deal with our emotions, learn our skills, not show, negative vibes, not give out negative vibes. We have to learn all that. Second is that we have to recognize that there's a lot of trauma. What we call complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD, is very, 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 very common, which means that there are everyday micro traumatic events that are happening on a multiple level basis, numerous times of the day basis, and it causes a lot of trauma. And all our therapies, all our interventions should be trauma informed. Third, we have to recognize that gaslighting is a very big reality for autistic people and all people with mental health, socio-psychological or psychosocial disabilities, which means that we deny the person's reality. So, for example, when a child, when a cooker sound comes and the child reacts to that because their body is reacting like that. But what do the other people say? इसमें क्या है? क्या है? कुकर के लिए क्यों ऐसे react करता है हमारा बेटा? You have to be strong. Stop behaving like this. And then therapy upon therapy to deny or to teach them to, normalize this sensitivity, to make them get used to it, is basically denying their body's reality. What the person grows up believing is that they shouldn't trust their body. And that's a very, very, very dangerous thing. Remember, you and I, our bodies give signals. And that's how we survive in this world. If we continue to behave like this with our autistic children, they're going to forever stay in a fight or flight mode. Then why are we surprised that they have frequent meltdowns? They have these weird behaviors. Why are we so surprised? So it's like, suppose you had a very, very bad accident and you have a very deep cut in your leg and I'm sitting and talking to you nicely. We're talking about the weather and, I don't know, vacation, and unknowingly, not unknowingly, like um, hidingly, I put my finger into your wound and I press it from inside. You're going to react. And before you realize what happened, I'm going to take out my hand from your wound. And then I'm going to say, hey, what happened? Why are you reacting? क्या हुआ क्या? नहीं, दर्द हुआ. कैसे? Oh my God, तुम कुछ नहीं है यहाँ पे. Nothing happened. Come on, be brave. And if I do that 10 times, you're going to believe that you are hallucinating. That is what is called gaslighting. And we do this very, 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 very frequently with our children, autistic children. I know it sounds very ugly. And you might say, no, I don't do that. I don't press their wound like that. That's just inhuman. But when you do all those sensory integration therapy, when you do that, behavior therapy to reduce their stimming, reduce their, let's say, echolalia, this is exactly what you're doing. You'll purposely trigger them, and then not purposely trigger them, like when the triggers happen in the environment, instead of taking out the trigger, you're blaming the person as if there's something wrong with the person. And then this whole barrage of intervention to make the person normal. This is how it is. And it's not fair. It is abuse. We just don't call it abuse. So actually, we should not be surprised why our children are so traumatized, why they are, not traumatized, why they're behaving, why there's aggression, violence, self-harm, bad mental health. Number one reason. That's all.
Yep. I'm speechless right now.
So, thank you. As I am winding up, it's hard to let you go, I'd love to keep listening to you. But anyway, Rakshita, this was absolutely an eye-opening, emotional, highly informative, brutally honest interview. Yeah. And thank you so much for this. I'm sure that this podcast is going to be heard by many, 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 making them wonder, making them more aware, of course, of autism and how, they need to change their acceptance levels to learn, to behave, to intervene, to practice, understand everything that we can possibly do to help an individual with autism. I'm really, really thankful and grateful that you spoke across so many topics and shared your personal journey also too so openly. Love you for this. And, do continue inspiring everyone who comes into your circle of life. Loads and loads of love to you and your loved ones. May you achieve everything that your heart desires.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was wonderful, yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
You were listening to the Special Needs Children podcast with Chitra Iyer, the CEO of MFA and a trustee with the Forum for Autism. If you find this podcast relevant and interesting, it will be great if you leave a review, share, like and subscribe. You can also let us know if there is any specific topic that you would like us to cover. Feel free to email her on chitra.iyer@myfinad.com, or you can call her on 9833 785 892. That is 9833 785 892.